it is and it don't sit right with you, let it go. It is okay to realign yourself and develop your own values. If it doesn't feel good and it don't feel right for you, it ain't right. Let it go. What's up, YouTube? It is Jessica Gordon. It is your girl, Jess Do It. And I am super excited to be with you today. And if you clicked on this video, then you probably on your healing journey just like me. And so I just want to share some things that I have learned with you. So I have my computer right here just so I can have some notes. So I make sure that I touch on things that I've learned because I do a lot of journaling. And so what I like to do when I'm creating these videos is I share with you my thoughts and my feelings that I've learned over time. And so being your true self, we hear a lot about that, but being your true self will require you to let go of who you imagine yourself to be. And when I say who you imagine yourself to be, friends, I'm talking about who your mother instilled in you to be, who your father instilled in you to be, because they had their own things, or whoever raised you. They had their own trauma and hurt and pain and love and joy that they were carrying. And so they may have placed things on you. So a little bit of story time. Let's go back. I remember it was 2003. Okay, I'm a millennial, but it was the year before I was about to graduate from high school. And I remember going to my counselor to talk about scholarships and things like that. This same year, my best friend's parents took me to the Bayou Classic and the Magic City Classic. Baby, I was in love, honey. I was like, oh, I'm going to school in Alabama. I'm going to school in New Orleans. I'm leaving North Carolina. Like, that is what my heart was on with my friend's parent. My best friend, parents took us to the Bayou Classic and the Magic City Classic. If you ain't been, baby, you need to go, okay? It is a time. But I'm 16 years old, and I'm out there, and I'm like, oh, I got to go to HBCU. Like, this HBCU experience ain't the same as the Fayetteville, where I grew up, HBCU experience that I had growing up. Because I thought I knew everything. And then I'm like down there looking at Southern. It was amazing, okay? So my story's getting long. But it was in that time where when I came back home, I shared with my mother that I was interested in applying to Xavier University, Texas Southern, and I think I was applying to Tuskegee. And my mother immediately shut me down. And she said to me, you're not going to no out-of-state school. You can go to the military and then have the military pay for it for you. Mind you all, this crushed my spirit for multiple reasons. One, I just had the time of my life and I felt like I was at home. Like, I felt so good and so excited about the experience and the opportunities to potentially attend. And I had already looked up their GPA requirements. So the second piece that was disheartening was because I had a 4.3 GPA in 11th grade and intended to continue to make straight A's so that I could go to whatever college I wanted to go to. So to hear the words from my mother, who I was closest to, I didn't grow up with a father, for her to say to me, yeah, you're not going to out-of-state college. You can go into the military and let them pay for it for you. Baby, I was crushed. I was crushed. And although I was crushed, some people, when they get crushed, that makes them fight harder, find out more resources. Now I am that person. But at that time, 16-year-old Jessica was like, dang, I can't go to college out of state and I'm not going into the military. So I just got to find a college in state. And that's what I settled for. Don't get me wrong, met my husband in college, met some of my best friends in college. I pledged Delta in college. So I am not here saying that, ooh, everything was terrible. But from that experience, I was able to reflect and learn that my mom saw out-of-state tuition as something that was unrealistic. But now that I understand student loan debt, y'all, baby, I could have went anywhere I wanted to go. I also could have been resourceful. I had a 4.3 GPA. I could have looked into scholarships for out of state. I could have done so many different things. And so I share that story with you because our loved ones only can share with us their experiences. And so although I allowed that to lead me in state for college, I don't want to do that to my children. So now that I'm a parent, I have to be mindful of my limitations and my, like, where am I showing up small, or where, from what I experienced, am I putting that onto my children? And I don't want to do that. And so I don't want you to continue to do that. I want you to learn that there's more for you. There's greater for you. And so we can't allow people's beliefs, because if I had, who knows where my life would be if I had not taken that advice and had known who I was. Now at 16, no, I'm not expecting a 16-year-old to know who they are, but I am expecting us as adults to show up for our children better than our parents showed up for us. Yes, they were doing the best that they could, but we also have to learn from these experiences. So when people talk about generational curses, y'all, I don't see it as like this, it is spiritual. Okay, it's spiritual. But at the same time, it's not this curse that's chasing you around in a sense of being creepy where you have to be afraid to talk about it. No, it's things that we haven't talked about that we need to talk about so that we can break that generational mistake, break those generational things that keep happening within our families. So that is part of letting go of who you imagine yourself to be, because I held on to so many beliefs from family members that weren't even of my own. They weren't my beliefs. They were from my mom. They were from my grandmother. They were from my grandfather. They were from my godmother. Just people placing things in me. And so it took time for me to sit with myself and get to know myself, to make myself show up as my authentic, highest self. So I just want to encourage you. Yes, there are steps that I could give you, but I think it's so important just to have these conversations because it's relatable. So letting go of expectations that other people have placed on you, or you may have placed on yourself, is going to liberate you. I'm telling you. And so I want to share a few steps to help you along your journey. One is self-reflection. So some people like to self-reflect. They can do it in their brain. My husband, he one of the people, he can just do it in his brain. I'm not that person. I need to write it down. I have to go back later on and read it again. Self-reflection is what has helped me transform my own life and really showing up as myself. So take the time to reflect on expectations that you may have placed on yourself, as well as those expectations that our loved ones have placed on us. And consider if the things that people have encouraged you to do, have instilled in you, really align with you. Does it fit who you are? Does it make you feel good? The things that you're holding on, if it makes you feel clenched in your mouth, in your hands, in your stomach, and you having headaches, it could be something else going on, or it could be your body telling you, stop doing this, stop holding on to this. So reflect and consider what aligns with you. Acceptance. Now, this one is hard for me, or was hard for me. I'm learning, okay? I'm growing. But acceptance is embracing that fact that you may not fit into this expectation that your family has for you. I think that is a critical piece. I think that it's so important to, you have to accept things as they are. And so I am a caregiver for my mother. And it was difficult for me to accept that because when I first attended college, all of my friends were living a life. They had care packages. They just were living an 18, 19-year-old lifestyle, and I wasn't. And I wanted so much to be similar to them that I wasn't accepting who I was. The truth of the matter was, I was a 19-year-old girl working 2 jobs, paying my mother's bills, paying the bills that I had, a small amount of bills I had because I lived on campus, but I was sending money to my mother. My lifestyle was not the same. but I would sometimes try to hide it or mask it. And I think that it just hindered me ultimately, where I wasn't spending time being my authentic self because I was trying to keep up with, oh, well, they don't live like that, so I shouldn't be talking about my 2 jobs. I shouldn't be talking about the fact that I have to send my mother money. I shouldn't be talking about that we don't have hot water. Not that anybody wants to hear those sad things, but at the same time, I was masking it, and I was not. It was my truth. You know, it was what was going on, and it hindered me from embracing my uniqueness and who I am. I'm a little quirky. I'm loud. You know, so what? Whoever you may be very quiet. You may be loud like me. Regardless, accept who you are and don't worry about other people's expectations of you. Embrace who you are. Accept who you are. Okay? Next thing I would encourage you to do is identify your own values and your own beliefs. This does take time because many values are already instilled in us in childhood. A little story time. I'm a former classroom teacher. So when I graduated from college, I taught for 7 years. And I had a student whose mother would take her to go steal. This little girl was in 7th grade. Her mother would take her to different stores because she was young and people, you know, aren't automatically looking at a young person for stealing. Her mother was teaching her to steal. I don't know where that young lady is right now, but very sad, very unfortunate that she had to live like that. But in many situations, parents will instill good values and sometimes they instill bad values. And so if you grew up in a situation where some of the values were not yours, not the best, it is okay to revisit what your values look like. What do you value? What do you believe? If someone in your family was teaching you to steal, deal drugs, weight shame, whatever it is, and it don't sit right with you, let it go. It is okay to realign yourself and develop your own values. If it doesn't feel good and it don't feel right for you, it ain't right. Let it go. The other thing that I would say is release judgment, okay? We judge ourselves. Forgive yourself. If you've made decisions in the past that are not the best, we all have. You have to forgive yourself. I'm a writer, so I like to write things. And I have written letters to myself saying, Jessica, I forgive you for. Forgive yourself. If you've been making the same mistakes over and over again, it's probably because you're somewhere doing something that doesn't align with your truest self. And you need to forgive yourself. Release that judgment and know that there's no one right way to be. If your parents told you that you need to be a lawyer and you know that that's not true in your heart, maybe write them a letter. Maybe have a counselor help you have that conversation with them. If your partner is placing, this is one, if you're married like I am, and you find that your partner is expecting your values to be exactly the same, you may need to have a conversation with a counselor so that you all can release judgment, because there's no one right way to be. My husband, very much, when we first got married, his mother's way was the right way. And so we now, next month, be married 6 years. We have had to work together and have open communication, and both of us understanding that there's no one right way to be. Because if you get caught in a situation where you live in life and well, this is how I grew up and this is how I gotta be, you're gonna be fighting with people for the rest of your life, baby. You're gonna be suffering. And there's no one right way to be. And you don't wanna put that on yourself because it keeps you in a box. It keeps you, it's hindering, it's hurtful. And the last thing that I would say is celebrate your progress. So celebrate yourself. If you see yourself taking steps and you know that you're doing the work, transformation is not going to happen in one night, okay? They did not build Rome in one day. Jesus did not build the world in one day. Give yourself time. Transformation takes time. Healing is a journey. But celebrate your progress, because those small little wins are going to add up to a very, very big win. So lastly, I just want you to surround yourself with positivity. Keep loving on yourself. Keep embracing who you are. Journal, reflect, do the things that you need to do to show up as your best self. There's no one right way to do things. Life is already challenging enough. And so why not show up as who you are? Be you. Being you is light to this world. Who you are makes a difference. You don't need to be like anyone else. You don't need to be like me. You don't need to be like your best friend. You don't need to be like the people that we see on the internet. Who you are is enough. You don't need to be like the mom that's doing all the things at the school or whatever it is that you kind of see yourself and you're like, dang, why don't I do that? If that's not what you want to do, it is okay. It is okay to embrace who you are. So remember, it's an ongoing process. It's not going to happen overnight. You all, I'm sharing things with you that I have learned over the last 12 years. So I started therapy at 25. And now I am 37. And so this has been a continuous, ongoing process of being able to show up as who I am. Okay? Just who you are. So I want you to tell me in the comments one thing that you're going to do to show up as your true self. And I'm going to leave mine in the comments as well. Please make sure that you like, subscribe, comment, and let me know what other things you would love for us to be talking about, honey, because I'm here for it. I love creating content. And I look forward to seeing you next time. As always, just do it.